This is SkyTour news for the week of August 26th to September 2nd. I'm Amanda Curran. August 28th, 1789. Enceladus is discovered. Enceladus was discovered by William Herschel on August 28th, 1789, during the first use of his 47-inch telescope, then the largest in the world. Its faint apparent magnitude and its proximity to the much brighter Saturn and Saturn's rings made Enceladus difficult to observe from Earth with smaller telescopes. Like many satellites of Saturn discovered prior to the space age, Enceladus was first discovered during a Saturnian equinox when Earth was within its ring plane. At such times, the reduction in glare from the rings makes the moons easier to observe. Prior to the Voyager's missions, the view of Enceladus improved little from a dot first observed by Herschel. Only its orbital characteristics were known, with estimations of its mass, density, and albedo. Enceladus is named after the giant Enceladus in Greek mythology. The name, like the name of each of the 7 satellites of Saturn to be discovered, was suggested by William Herschel's son John in his 1847 publication, Results of Astronomical Observations Made at the Cape of Good Hope. He chose these names because Saturn, known in Greek mythology as Cronus, was the leader of the Titans. Features on Enceladus are named by the International Astronomical Union after characters and places from Burton's translation of the Book of 1001 Nights. Impact craters are named after characters, whereas other feature types, such as fossa, long narrow depressions, dorsa, ridges, planitia, plains, sulci, long parallel grooves, and rupes, cliffs, are named after places. The IAU has officially named 85 features on Enceladus, most recently Samara rupes, formerly called Samara fossa. August 27, 1962. Mariner 2 is launched. Mariner 2 is an American space probe to Venus, and the first robotic space probe to conduct a successful planetary encounter. The scientific instruments on board the Mariner spacecraft were 2 radiometers, one for each of the microwave and infrared portions of the spectrum, a micrometeorite sensor, a solar plasma sensor, a charged particle sensor, and a magnetometer. The primary mission was to receive communications from the spacecraft in the vicinity of Venus and to perform radiometric temperature measurements of the planet. A second objective was to measure the interplanetary magnet field and charged particle environment. En route to Venus, Mariner 2 measured the solar wind, a constant stream of charged particles flowing outward from the Sun, confirming the measurements by Luna 1 in 1959. It also measured interplanetary dust, which turned out to be scarcer than predicted. In addition, Mariner 2 detected high-energy charged particles coming from the Sun, including several brief solar flares, as well as cosmic rays from the outside of the solar system. As it flew by Venus on December 14, 1962, Mariner 2 scanned the planet with its pair of radiometers, revealing that Venus had cool clouds and an extremely hot surface. August 29, 1975. A star in Cygnus goes nova. V15 Cygni, or Nova Cygni 1975, was a bright nova occurring in 1975 in the constellation Cygnus. V1500 Cygni was discovered on August 29, 1975, and reached a magnitude 1.7 on the next day and remained visible to the naked eye for about a week. It is an AM Hercules-type star, consisting of a red dwarf secondary depositing a stream of material into a highly magnetized white dwarf primary, and had the second highest intrinsic brightness of any nova in the 20th century. The distance of the V15 Cygni was calculated in 1977 by the McDonald Observatory at 6,360 light-years. It was the first asynchronous polar to be discovered, as the white dwarf spin period is slightly different than the binary orbital period. August 30, 1979. Comet Howard-Kummer-Michaels hits the Sun. In February 1979, the U.S. Air Force launched the P-78-1 satellite, aboard which was the NRL white light coronagraph known as Solwind. During Solwind's operational years, Data analysis efforts were led by NRL scientists Don Michaels, Marty Kumin, Russ Howard, and Neil Shelley, and as they looked at the solar wind images taken on August 30, 1979, they discovered a huge bright streak had appeared in their data during that day. Their first thought was that something had happened to the camera, but when they studied the images, they realized that the feature was actually moving, and it appeared to be a comet. Over the course of the next several hours of data, the comet disappeared as it went past the Sun, implying that it was destroyed during its passage. Later analysis showed that it belonged to the Kurtz group of sun-grazing comets. Solwind went on to observe a total of 10 previously unknown comets from 1979 to 1985, before the mission ended in 1985 when the satellite was destroyed by a ground-based missile in a planned Air Force exercise, which was also a first. This is SkyTour News.